If you've ever wondered why you felt different, it's because you were never meant to be ordinary. You were chosen from the start. Your entire life, you've been wondering why you never blended in, why every room felt too loud, every group felt too shallow, and every conversation felt like you were pretending. But here's the part no one ever told you. That feeling wasn't a flaw. It was the signal. But that's only the surface. Because there are clear signs that other people recognize that you are, in fact, one of the chosen ones. And once you find out what they are, you won't be able to unsee it. People dislike you before they even know you. And if you've lived this, you know exactly what I mean. Someone walks into a room, sees you, and something in them shifts. They don't know your story, your heart, your intentions, and yet they react with arrogance, attitude, or tension you never asked for. This is one of the strongest signs of a chosen one. Your presence pulls the truth out of people they weren't ready to face. You don't have to speak. Your energy alone threatens the parts of them they've been hiding from. So they reject you, judge you, or treat you cold, not because of who you are, but because of what you reveal. Chosen ones shine without trying, and that kind of light makes the insecure feel exposed. Some people feel intimidated by you before they even learn your name. Others sense something powerful and react with defensiveness they can't explain. And here's the twist. This reaction isn't a setback, it's a signal. Because when this starts happening more frequently, it means something bigger is already unfolding behind the scenes. And it's coming straight toward you. People don't just notice you, they start becoming versions of you. And if you've lived this, you already know how strange it feels. You do something once, and suddenly someone else adopts it as their new personality. The way you phrase things, the clothes you gravitate toward, the interests you naturally have, people around you begin copying them without even realizing it. Chosen ones don't follow trends, they accidentally create them. Your authenticity is so rare that people try to absorb it, hoping it will give them the same sense of direction and inner clarity you carry. You don't try to influence people, but your presence reshapes them anyway. And over time, this imitation becomes almost eerie. You speak about something casually, and a week later, someone around you suddenly becomes deeply passionate about that exact thing. You shift your habits, and they shift theirs too. You reinvent yourself, and suddenly, they're reinventing themselves in the same direction. What they're trying to mimic isn't the behavior, it's the energy behind it. They recognize something real in you, something they don't fully understand, but desperately want access to. This is why chosen ones often feel like their ideas are stolen before they even get a chance to express them fully. Your originality leaks out of you, and others grab onto it as if it's oxygen. People don't imitate what they understand, they imitate what they wish they could become. But imitation isn't the only reaction you trigger. Sometimes the admiration twists into something far more revealing, and this is where the true divide shows itself. Another unmistakable sign of being a chosen one is how certain people seem more invested in your mistakes than in their own well-being. It's almost like they're waiting for you to slip, waiting for that one moment where you prove you're just like them. Notice how some people barely acknowledge your successes, yet they zoom in on your errors with surgical precision. If you do something right, they stay silent. If you take one wrong step, they suddenly come alive. This isn't coincidence, it's discomfort disguised as judgment. People who feel threatened by your growth quietly hope for your downfall, because it makes them feel safer about staying where they are. They don't want to see someone rising when they've made peace with staying stuck. Watching you win forces them to confront their own stagnation, but watching you fail gives them a temporary sense of superiority. And the strangest part? They never do this to average people. They reserve this obsession for the ones they secretly believe are capable of something greater. Your mistakes feel larger to them because your potential feels larger to them. They don't want to admit it, but your wins make them uncomfortable, and your losses make them feel validated. Jealousy doesn't watch the ordinary, it watches the exceptional. People don't simply interact with chosen ones, they study them. One of the most telling signs is how often others try to dissect your personality, your decisions, or even your silence, as if they're trying to solve a puzzle they've never encountered before. You'll notice people asking you unusually personal questions out of nowhere, probing into your mindset, or watching how you respond to situations with an intensity that feels disproportionate. And it's not because you're being mysterious on purpose. It's because your independence disrupts the predictable patterns people are used to seeing. Most people move through life in a way that's easy to categorize. You can look at them and instantly understand their motivations, their fears, their insecurities. But with chosen ones, there's something different happening under the surface, something that doesn't match the scripts society has conditioned people to expect. You walk into a room with a quiet self-possession, a sense of inner direction that isn't loud or performative, but unmistakably real. And people pick up on it, even if they can't explain why. Your ability to stand firm in who you are confuses people who rely on external validation. You don't need approval, attention, or permission, and that unsettles those who have never understood how to operate without them. This is why people test you, challenge your choices, or observe how you react to unexpected situations. They're trying to locate the source of your confidence. They want to know what drives you, what scares you, what rules you live by, because they can sense that your motivations aren't rooted in the same insecurities or fears that guide most people. People aren't curious about your life. They're curious about your freedom. And the more they analyze you, the more they realize they can't predict you. You don't fit neatly into a personality type or stereotype. You don't respond to manipulation, guilt, or pressure the way others do. You don't break in the places they expect. This unpredictability makes you fascinating to some and unsettling to others because you represent a level of inner autonomy they've never mastered. And deep down, they know it. But curiosity is only the first layer. For others, your presence stirs something more physical, more instinctive, something they can't intellectualize even if they try. One of the strongest and most undeniable signs of being a chosen one is the way certain people become visibly uncomfortable when you're around. You may notice them fidgeting, avoiding eye contact, acting overly defensive, or suddenly changing their tone in your presence. Sometimes they become strangely formal. Sometimes they get clumsy or awkward. Sometimes they act irritated without any reason at all. And almost every chosen one has asked themselves the same question. Why do people react like this when I haven't done anything? The answer is simple. Your presence highlights what they haven't healed. When you enter a room, you bring an authenticity that makes inauthenticity uncomfortable. You bring confidence that exposes insecurity. You bring awareness that unsettles denial. People who are disconnected from themselves will feel that disconnection more sharply around someone who is connected to something deeper. You don't have to speak, your energy does the talking. It's not that you're intimidating in a traditional sense. You're not threatening anyone physically, but energetically, emotionally, and spiritually, you trigger the parts of them they've avoided facing. Your silence feels louder. Your calm feels challenging. Your clarity feels confrontational, even when you're being completely neutral. They sense that you see more than you say, and that awareness makes them self-conscious in ways they can't put into words. And the strange part is, this reaction usually comes from people who don't know anything about you. They don't have history with you. They don't have a reason to dislike you. Yet something in them tightens when you walk in, as if their instincts are warning them that you're not someone they can easily manipulate, impress, or deceive. People don't fear you. They fear what you awaken in them. This nervousness is a direct reflection of the impact your presence has, even when you're not doing anything intentional. It's one of the clearest indicators that your energy is stronger, sharper, and more aligned than the average person's. And once you start noticing how many people react this way, you'll realize something important. It was never about who you were. It was always about who you made them realize they weren't. You were built for expansion, not for comfort. One of the most powerful realizations a chosen one ever has is understanding that their lifelong inability to fit in was never a flaw. It was the first sign of their calling. From childhood to adulthood, you were always the one who felt out of sync with the environments that everyone else seemed perfectly comfortable in. But the truth is, you weren't meant to fit into those places. You were meant to outgrow them. Think about how early it started. While other kids were satisfied with simple explanations, you were asking deeper questions, not to rebel, but because your mind simply didn't settle for superficial answers. You watched people follow rules that didn't make sense, chase approval that didn't matter, fight over things that weren't important, and you felt like you were observing a world that operated on a completely different frequency than yours. In school, you were restless, not because you lacked discipline, but because the structure was too small for the size of your imagination. In jobs, you felt suffocated, not because you were incapable, but because your spirit resisted anything that required you to shrink. In relationships, you often ended up feeling misunderstood or too much, not because you were wrong, but because your emotional depth exceeded the emotional range of the people around you. Chosen ones don't thrive in confined spaces. Their energy pushes boundaries, their intuition questions norms, and their soul naturally expands beyond whatever limitations the world tries to place on them. The reason so many environments felt uncomfortable is because those environments weren't designed for someone with your level of awareness, sensitivity, or inner strength. And here's the part most people overlook: that discomfort was not dysfunction. It was direction. Every moment you felt out of place was an inner signal saying, this isn't where you stop. When you couldn't stay in the same job everyone else tolerated for decades, it wasn't because you lacked stability. It was because you were being prepared for something that required freedom. When you drifted away from friendships that felt shallow or draining, it wasn't because you were difficult. It was because you were being aligned with people who could meet you at your level. When certain doors slammed in your face, it wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Your resistance to smallness was the proof you were designed for greatness. Chosen ones are catalysts. They enter spaces and shift the energy without even trying. This is why you've always felt like you didn't fully belong anywhere, because you weren't meant to belong. You were meant to transform. You were meant to bring clarity into chaos, depth into shallowness, and authenticity into environments that rewarded conformity. And the isolation you felt, that sense of always standing alone, that wasn't loneliness, that was elevation. Chosen ones are set apart so they can see clearly. so they can grow uninterrupted, so they can hear themselves. And so that when they finally walk into the chapter meant for them, they walk in fully formed rather than diluted by the expectations of others. When you look back, you'll realize that every experience that felt off was actually molding you. The jobs that drained you taught you your value. The relationships that limited you taught you your boundaries. The environments that felt too small taught you your capacity. The discomfort was giving shape to your destiny long before you recognized it. You never failed to fit in. You succeeded in outgrowing everything that couldn't hold your future. You weren't built to be contained, controlled, or conditioned into someone forgettable. You were built to stretch beyond limitations, to challenge the ordinary, and to step into a life that only someone with your journey could hold. You were never too much. The world was simply too little. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared. One of the clearest and most undeniable proofs of being a chosen one is the nature of your suffering. It was never random, never casual, never the kind of pain that just happens. Your struggles have always carried a certain intelligence behind them, as if the universe was shaping you with a level of precision that didn't match the experiences of the people around you. While others went through predictable, ordinary challenges, you were hit with things that cracked you open from the inside out. You didn't just experience loss, you experienced the kind of loss that forced you to rebuild yourself from dust. You didn't just deal with betrayal, you dealt with betrayal from the exact people you trusted most, the ones whose absence altered the entire landscape of your heart. You didn't just face loneliness, you faced the type that strips away illusions and leaves only truth behind. And somehow, even when you felt like your whole world was falling apart, a strange part of you sensed that all of it was creating something in you that nothing else could. Chosen ones don't have soft initiations. Their childhoods often feel heavier than they should. They were the kids who had to be their own emotional support, the ones who felt responsible long before responsibility was ever taught. They grew up faster, understood things earlier, and carried emotional weights that adults around them couldn't explain. Their innocence did not fade. It was transformed into strength. And here's the part most people overlook. The pain didn't destroy you. It refined you. Every betrayal sharpened your intuition. Every loss expanded your compassion. Every downfall taught you resilience. And every time you thought you reached the end, life revealed that it was only the end of the version of you that could never carry your destiny. Your pain was never random. It was a map leading you back to your power. Your suffering was the training ground for your becoming. And if your story has felt too heavy, too unlikely, too intense compared to those around you, that's because it was never meant to be normal. You've been nudged by the universe since day one. Another unmistakable sign of being a chosen one is the pattern of impossible coincidences that follow you everywhere you go. Your life has never been purely logical or linear. It's been punctuated by moments that didn't make sense until much later, as if something or someone was placing the right people, the right warnings, and the right opportunities in front of you at precise moments. Think about the times you narrowly avoided danger without knowing how, the strange accidents you walked away from, the anxious decisions that led you to safety, the sudden inner voice that told you to stop, to go, to wait, to leave. Chosen ones often have these near-miss experiences, the kind that make you question how you're even still here, how you survived, how everything aligned at the exact moment it needed to. And deep inside, you know it wasn't luck. Then there are the encounters, meeting someone who changes your entire trajectory, not by chance, but at the exact moment you needed them. Crossing paths with people who either teach you something, trigger something, or awaken something. Hearing words you needed to hear in the exact sentence at the exact second, from someone who didn't even know what you were going through. It's like life has been leaving clues for you, breadcrumbs leading you towards something bigger than you've been able to comprehend. Even your breakdowns had timing. The moments you hit rock bottom always led to revelations or opportunities that wouldn't have made sense at any other time. The job you didn't get made room for the one you were meant to take. The relationship that ended pushed you toward a version of yourself you never would have discovered otherwise. The delays, the detours, the disappointments, they were all perfectly placed. And then there's that deep, persistent knowing you carry. That sense that someone is guiding you, that the events of your life are more than coincidences, that the universe has been orchestrating things with too much accuracy for it to be random. Chosen ones don't just live life, they feel life speaking to them. When the universe wants you somewhere, it will move mountains, and if needed, it will move you. Your entire life has been threaded with meaning. The signs you've received, the moments that saved you, the synchronicities that follow you, they're all part of the same message. You've never walked alone. Most people fade as they age. You're getting louder. Another unmistakable sign of being a chosen one is the feeling that your life doesn't follow the same timeline as everyone else's. While most people peak early, socially, emotionally, or even spiritually, chosen ones tend to bloom later, in stages that look almost reversed from the norm. You might have felt lost, delayed, behind, or out of sync with the timelines society expects. But what you thought was failure was actually divine timing. Chosen ones often start life in survival mode. When others are focused on fitting in, chosen ones are dealing with deeper challenges, inner conflicts, and emotional battles that mature them long before the world ever takes them seriously. Their path is slower, quieter, and more inward in the beginning, not because they lack potential, but because they're being built from the inside out. Their early life is preparation. Their later life is activation. This is why your clarity increases with age. This is why you get wiser, more confident, more self-aware, and more aligned as the years pass. Your strength doesn't fade, it compounds. While others begin to shrink under the weight of years, chosen ones expand into their true identity. You may have felt like your life only started making sense in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or beyond. That's not a delay, that's design. Think of it like the Benjamin Button effect, but spiritually. Where society teaches that potential belongs to the young, chosen ones prove that potential belongs to the aligned. Your truth doesn't emerge early because it isn't meant to. It arrives when your foundation is strong enough to hold it. You weren't late. You were being saved for the exact moment the world needed what only you could bring. This reversed life arc is a signature of chosen souls. You rise when others fall. You awaken when others settle. You begin when others are ending. Your timeline has always been different because your purpose has always been different. You didn't come here to belong. You came here to awaken the ones who forgot. One of the deepest, most personal proofs of being a chosen one is the quiet sense that Earth has never fully felt like home. Not in a dramatic or hopeless way, but in a very specific, mission-centered way. It's the feeling that you're visiting a place where everyone else seems to understand the rules except you. While others easily adapt to societal norms, You've spent your whole life trying to figure out why so much of this world feels unnatural. You look around and wonder why cruelty exists, why people chase meaningless things, why the world celebrates superficiality instead of truth, and why certain behaviors are considered normal when they've never made sense to you on a soul level. This isn't you being out of place. This is you remembering something the rest of the world forgot. Chosen ones often have a built-in sensitivity to injustice, deception, and inauthenticity, not because they're fragile, but because their spirit recognizes when something violates a deeper truth. One of the most powerful proofs that you are a chosen one is the moment your life stops looking like a mess and starts looking like a masterpiece. For years, maybe even decades, you've moved through experiences that felt disconnected, out of place, or painfully inconvenient. Things happened at the wrong time. People entered your life only to leave abruptly. Opportunities came out of nowhere, disappeared just as fast, and left you wondering what any of it meant. You learned skills that didn't seem useful. You had insights you couldn't explain. You felt pulled toward ideas that didn't match the life you were living. And for the longest time, you kept asking yourself, why does my story feel like a bunch of random chapters from different books? But here's the truth. Chosen ones don't get linear lives. They get coded lives, lives that only make sense in hindsight. Your path is designed like a lock, and every strange, painful, beautiful moment has been another digit clicking into place. It's only when enough pieces align that the pattern finally reveals itself. You start noticing that the detours weren't detours at all. That job you hated taught you discipline you now rely on. The heartbreak that shattered you built emotional intelligence you use every day. The friendships that ended taught you boundaries that protect your peace now. Even the mistakes, the ones you swore ruined everything, end up being the exact experiences that shaped your strength, your resilience, your intuition. Your wrong turns were never wrong. They were recalibrations. There's a moment chosen ones experience when they look back and realize that every event was connected. The timing was too precise. The coincidences were too sharp. The closed doors pushed you in the exact direction you needed to go. Even the people who hurt you played a role in positioning you for something greater. Every time you broke down, another part of your identity broke open. Every setback was a redirection disguised as disappointment. And then there's the part no one talks about, the strange talents you picked up without knowing why. The unusual passions that didn't seem practical, the way you've always been drawn to certain themes, ideas, symbols, or paths without a logical explanation. These weren't random quirks. They were instructions. Seeds that would only make sense once you reached the chapter they were meant to bloom in. Chosen ones often feel like their life is starting much later than everyone else's. And that's because their foundation wasn't built through routine, it was built through revelation. Your growth didn't happen in a straight line. It happened in layers, in breakthroughs, in sudden realizations that felt like the universe whispering, "This is why." And when that moment of clarity hits, it hits hard. Suddenly you can trace the threads connecting every chapter. Suddenly the people, the pain, the timing, the experiences, they all line up perfectly. If you're still watching, I'd like to thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed the content and want to see more, please consider clicking the subscribe button. Your support is very appreciated. Feel free to share your experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care and subscribe for more insightful content.